Boise State, does the record reflect how good of a team that team actually is, or do you think they had some struggles early in the year? Why do you think they're sitting where they're at?
They are exceptionally beyond talented. I think you watch when they play Oklahoma State, and I think Oklahoma State, depending upon the poll, is 14th or so in the country, and they're up 20-7 in that game, and it goes right down to the wire. Central Florida, they're up 24-7 against Central Florida in Orlando, and then certainly they were in complete control of the game on Saturday, where they beat number 10 BYU.
When you look at a game against BYU was rolling prior to that. What do you think that the key to their success was, and what do you think they're going to try to take and go against you guys and try to beat you guys?
They have a bunch of guys that have been there for quite some time. As you go down the list and you look at their previous production, that's at running back, that's a quarterback, that's a good number of guys at the other skill spots too. Certainly defensively also. I mean, they've had guys that have been there. Golly, some of these guys, you think, how many times have we seen these guys? And it's one of the benefits that you do have at a university right now, is that there is pretty good continuity.
Schematically, are they the same with a different coaching staff at all?
They're not. A few parallels, but clearly there's a different approach. I think especially offensively and defensively, there is carryover on the special teams part of it. But it's quite a bit different offensively and defensively. So we're putting a little extra time in this week.
I believe it. With Sanford, are you surprised with just how he's taken off this year? Just really this past Wyoming game, the production that he was able to put out.
He did. He's done this now for a few weeks. The part really, Rudd, are just our defensive staff. I think one of the things they've done really good is just being able to adjust from week to week. And there's some of these guys we'd like to move them around a little bit. And Vince is a guy where we've done that, not only over the course of his career here, playing different positions, but during this season too.
Final one for me is the Diesel hats. I was wondering if you know about them, and do you feel like, because we were talking with the guys about the Diesel mentality on Saturday, do you feel like you entail the Diesel mentality and you deserve a hat as well?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a hard one to earn, and you think, well, it can't be that hard. What are they? Maybe $1.99 over there at that truck stop over there, and yet I think they put a little marking on the inside just to make sure it's authentic, and I don't know what that marking is, because only the guys that get one truly know what it might be. But I think they're valued more than any Monet work or the Mona Lisa or the Louvre. I mean, you pick it. I mean, they're hard and rare to get one. So Coach hadn't earned one yet. So
hopefully soon.
How pleased have you been with your defensive front and the way they've gotten pushed with, 3 or 4 guys that are pushing? They've done a really good job of getting to the quarterback by themselves.
Yeah, better, Jesse. I mean, and certainly this is a different task on Saturday evening, just because of you look at how much size they have and how much length they have and how long those guys have been around. It's not like when you go down that roster, there are a ton of guys that just arrived there in August, although they still have that ability to take an immediate transfer. This will be a good little challenge for us this week for our front.
Hank Bachmeier's always been an incredible talent and a great quarterback for them. It seems as though he's grown into that role even more so this year, where he's taken more command. Looked like he checked in and out of a different plays. The level of maturity that a quarterback has to have that trust, how impressive is that?
Yeah, I think that's one of those things we were talking a little bit earlier. Maybe some of the things that you notice are that are differences for him in the way they approach offensively, and that's one of them. He's been there for quite some time. You think his very first game when he played in Florida against Florida State, and he played well against us 2 years ago too. He played really, really well that night.
How do you go about schematically trying to defend Khalil Shakir, who seems like he makes catches, whether he's double, triple teamed? I mean, he catches passes that really should not be caught.
Great ball skills, very dynamic, runs good routes, and just tremendous production. Outstanding player.
Going back to those diesel hats, what do you think you would have to do to earn one of
I've
those?
been asking that for a while. So, now, Amanda likes to have things a little bit organized and clean. So, and yet every time I see one of those, they are soiled and they are. I don't think, and I've seen, what are there? Maybe 15 or so. That might be on the high end in terms of the number of guys that have been able to earn one of those $1.99 hats. I haven't seen one that looks clean and pristine yet, but maybe that's kind of the attractiveness, if you will, of the hats.
Sure. And Brad Roberts, would you say a word to describe him this season has been reliable? And then what do you see that maybe we don't see as to his success this season?
Yeah, he's absolutely that. I think reliable would be a perfect choice. He practices very, very hard. In fact, to the point where you really have to keep an eye on the amount of volume that he does have during a practice. And he's for everybody else. That's the day. I mean, you spend a little time with him, you realize this guy's about Omar, and he's about E-Man, and he's about the other fellas, and just how much he cares.
He obviously came into the season probably realizing he would have an elevated role this year. So, obviously, are you happy with the way he's taken on that leadership too?
He does it by example, which is the most effective way. I think for anybody, you got to live it. That's just got to be not only your DNA, but it's really got to be the choices and the commitment that you make. And the other part of it is he, like I said earlier, it matters. He cares.
You mentioned Brad Roberts' workload in practice. Does his workload in games at all concern you, or is he built to withstand this?
That's a good question. You thought, we played there in that second game, and he had a few carries, and I remember getting a voicemail from a graduate, a 70 graduate that coaches the Spurs right after that Navy game. I thought, oh my goodness, how many carries is that guy going to get? And it varies a little bit from game to game, but we're going to have all three guys involved.
So you get a text after the Navy game from Pop saying
voicemail, yeah,
voicemail.
And yeah.
Is there any kind of equivalency to a pitch count? I know you love baseball, where you do have to monitor that a little bit, or you just go?
You do. I think probably to a degree number of plays. The other thing is we're fortunate. Like I said, we have three guys that can help us there. And I think one of the things we need to do, we have to get Eman Michelle and Omar Fatah. Those two have to be more involved. And I think we'll see that as we go forward in the back half of the season. Really, well, it was. For those two guys, this is the first time they've played. So we've been able to take these first handful of games and being able to, get them involved, and even more so heading down the road.
And could Vince Sanford, just his body type, be a changer down the road? Could you start looking for more guys to be in a pass rush role who maybe did have a different background and maybe aren't the 245, 250 type?
Maybe. I do think power matters. If it's easy to identify and say, all right, this guy has twitch, or this guy has length, or this guy has some natural, get off speed around an edge, or he's got a little knack for how to use his hands, and whether a swim go over the top, or whether a rip, or whether maybe even use a spin. That's not real common, the spin. But he has good power for a guy that's not 250.
So is he just kind of a special outlier because he has been able to make it work at his size?
I think probably somewhat. I think at that weight, you don't often see that. Now he can bend. He can get under a player's pads, just in terms of what his level is that he operates, and again, he has good bursts and just good short area quickness too.
And back to the Diesels, which I can't believe 3 of us are asking about this. But how nice is it as a coach to see players start something like that means something to them, and it's kind of an intrinsic thing that the coaches don't have to monitor or be a part of?
Well, they they have their own little niche. Now, I mean, nobody goes without getting coached in that room. I think you'd find a good little chuckle out of them in that regard when I say that, and that's meant as a compliment to Lobo all the way. I'll say this: we got to play better this week. I will say that, and I think they know. We left there Saturday evening that we had a chance to. We're going to block better as we roll down the road. But I mean, just there is a neat little camaraderie, and yet it doesn't take away from their focus. It's not something where that means more than truly playing football and being a good teammate. I think there's a way where they've been able to cultivate that and do it in a way which adds to the esprit of your team.
Okay. And just looking at statistics, your running numbers and the running numbers they're giving up, and then what they're rushing for and what you're giving up would seem to favor you. When you look at the personnel, does it tell you a different story from what you're seeing on film than what the stories might?
I've never known that a number had a whole lot to do, a great deal with things. I know this. I mean, everything I see when I watch people play against them, they are physical, they are large, they are old, and they can get to ball carriers in a hurry. I mean, you hold Oklahoma State to 21 points. I mean, if you want to get enamored with numbers, then golly, I mean, BYU, it's not like they scored a ton of points the other day. I mean, golly, and BYU scored a bunch of points this season.
All right, Coach, we've watched your triple option offense for 10 years now that we've been in the league. When you're trying to put it together, what are the ingredients that go into it? What are you looking for the perfect quarterback or the perfect back or the receivers or line? What goes into putting your team together?
Yeah, I think probably more than anything else, Bob, really, is we try to, and I think we've been pretty fair at it, just trying to truly carve and make our offense each year towards what some of the strengths are with our team. And I don't know if I can say there's necessarily an ideal player at any position. I mean, we're at the Air Force Academy. There just truly aren't that many guys that we can recruit. And not that we certainly don't attempt to do so. It's just I joke about it, but instead it's a tiny little puddle rather than a recruiting pool. And so I think you do have to adapt your offense to what you have. And we do that. Now you might say, well, it seems to be you're trying to emphasize rushing or yards per attempt, and that is something that we do look at. But I think we have to change here. I mean, all the time. We cannot be set in our ways. And in any way that we play, and I think once you dig past the surface of it, you realize that there are quite a few variations that we do have in the way we operate.
Tell me a little bit about Daniels. It looks like he's kind of got the blend of being able to throw the ball some for you as well as run the ball.
He does, yes. Good poise, good presence, good quickness, and it's helped now because he's probably, I'm trying to think. He's probably at 400. He's probably close to 900 snaps, 1,000 snaps, which I think that matters. In any offense, in life, if you're working in your craft and you hit, what's that number, 10,000 hours. Here, I think once you start getting over 800 snaps in football, there's some things that become a little more instinctive and natural for people to do.
And the last one for me is on your defense. Last year you had a number of players turn back that look like are back on the roster this year. So how much better is your defense, and what have you seen out of them this year?
Well, it was pretty solid last year. Now, there was one game that we played. I think the opponent averaged almost 10 yards. They averaged over 9 yards a play. We played here at Falcon Stadium, There's a group from Boise that went up and down the field at will against us, and just the talent and the skill that they have, that'll be a big-time challenge on Saturday evening because they have every one of those guys darn near that's back. The turn back part of it is it's a must. I was talking earlier about being set in your ways. I mean, that's probably one of those things a little bit in a bigger picture that's a must if you're going to be a part of FBS football and play in a conference. That's something that has to happen going forward, and that won't always be popular with everyone. But if you're about doing what's right, if you're committed to the United States Air Force Academy and a leadership experience, then it's a no-brainer. Now, it's a change. If you're set in your ways, that may be something that'd be hard to digest.
So we just asked Coach why he hasn't gotten a diesel hat yet and his thoughts of everything as if he has the diesel mentality. So my question is this: does Coach have the diesel mentality, and why hasn't he earned a hat yet, do you think?
That would be a better question for the offensive linemen, honestly. They're the ones that kind of get to decide. I think he has the diesel mentality. Just pushing through everything and learning and changing his game up. I think he's got the diesel mentality.
Is the hat worth more than $1.99? Because that's what he was saying.
100%.
Okay, I'm just making sure on that. More serious note, for you, consistency-wise, week in, week out, where do you feel like you can find that consistency of being able to put up 100 yards and being able to be a reliable person on and off the field?
I think the consistency starts with the offensive linemen. Honestly, if they create me the holes, it's not too hard. If I got the holes, they're doing a great job up front, and we run the ball a lot, so that's helping a lot too.
Boise State week. How much of a game like this on the road means to you guys, and how much of a laser-focused mentality do you have to have this week?
We know the schedule is very tough, just from going to Wyoming to Boise, then we got San Diego State. We have to be locked in from the start. We talked about it yesterday that we all have to be ready, no goofing around at practice, but I'll be prepared, and I think we will be.
When you look at Boise State, I feel like the record doesn't reflect how good of a team they actually are this year. Do you agree with that, and what do you see for them on film?
Yeah, I think they're a very good team. They've had some tough games and some really close ones too, but they're a very talented team, and we have to bring our A game.
On Saturday, do you guys know that if you win, you're bowl eligible? Has that even been a conversation yet at all?
Not too much. I think it's in the back of everybody's mind, but we're kind of just focused on week by week, just going 1-0.
And the 1-0 mentality, if you had to pinpoint that, what would that mean this week for you guys in terms of being able to execute and beat a Boise State team?
Kind of just do our thing. We know our game plan. We just got to be able to execute, focus on us and not so much the outside noise and everything else that's going on, but just work in practice and make sure that we're getting everything right, and I think we should be good.
You talk about the 1-0 mentality, but when you win several games in a row the weeks prior, is there a line to kind of teeter on, hey, we're building momentum, but we also need to just focus on being 1-0?
I totally think so, especially like before Utah State. I feel like we had so much momentum. I think we just kind of didn't focus as much as we needed to, and I think that's something that our seniors with Devontae Meeks and Jordan Jackson, they've really emphasized that it's just 1-0. We need to focus on this week and get through this week and make sure we're all locked in practice.
And then when you go to Boise State, they're a team that beat the 10th-ranked team in the country on the road the week prior. Is that something you take into account, thinking their confidence has to be pretty high?
Yeah. Honestly, I think we focus more on ourselves, though, than Boise State. We kind of just do our thing. I'm not too worried about who we play when we play, but as long as we have a right game plan and we're executing as we should, I think we should be good.
And just Coach mentioned that you kind of, as far as your leadership style, in a way, you care more about the guys around you than necessarily yourself. Is that something that you've always been doing playing football, or is that something you learn the more you become a leader, the more you play the game?
I've tried to. I think this place does a great job of kind of setting you up for that. Just the leadership classes that we have to take up on the hill. A lot of that just, and then at the end of the day, I want to win. And if it's not through me and it's through somebody else, I'm completely fine with that as long as our team is winning.
And you had a career high 33 carries on Saturday. I mean, after that game, do you feel kind of banged up? Like, how do you keep your body, feeling good week after week?
I feel a little banged up, a little sore, but nothing too crazy. And go to the trainers every single day and work with them, and they do a great job with me.
What do you do off the field when you have some free time, which I know is tough at the academy?
I love to golf, and then play video games or just kind of goof around with my friends.
What do you shoot?
Oh, depends. The best I've ever shot is an 82, but I usually sit around like 88.
How do you have time to keep that going?
Oh, I haven't. I haven't had time for a while, but all through summer we played up at Eisenhower, and then I grew up on a golf course, so I golfed a lot when I was younger too.
In Denver? Which
Yep.
course?
Westwoods.
I don't know the Denver course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was trying to think of like.
So back to the workload question. I mean, is that if the coaches start to taper you off just a little bit, would that bother you? Or like, do you want to show that you can do 33 every week, or would you understand if the carries start going elsewhere just so they can preserve you for the end of the season?
The only thing I want us to be able to win, and if the coaches think that's through me, if the coaches think that's through throwing the ball as we executed very well, I was completely fine with that. As long as we're executing as we should, I think we should be okay. I don't really care that much about how many carries I get.
And do you think you could do this for 6 more games, or 7 more games probably, the way you've been carrying it up to this point in terms of the volume?
I think so. I mean, it would definitely be tough, but I feel pretty well right now, so I think it'll just be a grind, and I'll have to buckle down if that's the way we're going to be going.
And Coach said he has kind of eased you off at practice a little bit. Have you noticed that? Are you aware that they're doing that?
Yeah. I've had a little bit less reps, especially like in practice yesterday, and then last week a little bit less reps, but I'm still getting all the reps that I need to, and then just making sure that I'm locked in and watching when other guys are in.
And I know you told me after the game you don't care about numbers, or you don't follow numbers, but you're number 8 nationally in rushing, leading the conference. Like, is there a certain extra pride you get in that? And have you looked those numbers up at all?
I haven't looked them up, but I got tagged in something and I saw it. But I think it's pretty sweet. But honestly, majority of it goes to the offensive line. I think I could have done a lot better, and I got to work on a lot of other things. And a lot of it goes to my team and the people surrounding me.
And when you say blocking out the outside noise, what noise is that? What are you trying to block out when you're getting ready for a game like this?
Just all the media and everything going, oh, this is the best start for Air Force, blah, blah, blah. We kind of just need to do the want-to-know mentality and just make sure we're locked in for this week.
And does this feel like one of those Navy-type games, or, one of the games that does, inevitably get elevated just because it is Boise?
I think so. I mean, they've had our number the past few years, so I think this game will definitely mean a lot.
And growing up, what did Boise mean to you? What did that brand, that name, conjure in your mind?
Just a really good football team. I mean, you've seen their record over the past, I don't even know, 20, 30 years. I don't know, probably longer than that. But they're just a really good football team and well-rounded. They don't have too many weaknesses, so it's going to be a hard one.
Some of the guys were talking about blocking out the noise, and they know this is a big week. How would you compare this week to some of the other bigger ones on the schedule, the Navy and Army? Where's Boise rank in your mind?
It's about the same. Every week is just another week. It's just another game we have to play and prepare for. So it's not. I don't hold any game over any other ones. Granted, some games are harder to win, but they're all the same, and they're all just tally marks at the end of the day.
So is this a harder one to win?
Boise State's pretty good. They're pretty good. They're coming off a game with a lot of confidence. Beat number 10 BYU at BYU is a big feat. But at the end of the day, our mentality this year has just been it's about us and how well we can perform, not about how well the other team is or good the other team is.
They've struggled to run the ball quite a bit this year. Is that something, I mean, you always try to make teams one-dimensional, but is that something because they throw it so well? Is that less of a focus this week, or is it always the same? Run first and then.
It's always the same, you know. It's Boise's such a well-rounded team that running the ball opens up passing the ball. They do a lot of play action. This year it's a little different because, you know, I think they have a new offensive coordinator, and you can kind of see because the split of the running back is so much wider than you normally see, and it's just unconventional. And, you know, it looks like a pass play, and it never is, and it's just a run. But granted, it's still only Tuesday. We haven't looked at it too much. But one-dimensional teams are always great, but Boise's well-rounded, so either way it goes, you just have to be ready for it.
Is your position a little different this year? Seems like you're splitting out wide, doing different things as opposed to just playing on the inside.
Yeah, so it's a little different. It's we're doing the will linebacker is doing a lot more things than we have been in the past. You know, in the past, you know, when the last played KJ, you know, the freak he did a lot of the things that were just different. Him being out on the edge a lot, in coverage a lot, and I would just go and just run into people. But this year it's a little different. The will linebacker is more involved in the pass coverage. We have some different fronts, some different rushes, different ways to get to the quarterback, and it's a little bit more complicated than it usually has been.
Did you have a say in that? I mean, could you have switched to the other linebacker spot? Or?
No, I don't have a say in it. It's all good. It's just like, you know, everyone's like, you know, just do your job. And they built the position around the personnel, you know, and now I'm bigger, Blood's a little bit smaller, so Blood comes down on third down a lot, you know, so I'm on the line more, and I can compete on the line, so that's where they have me a lot. So,
is there something about this spot that you like more, you know, that you're able to do some things that you hadn't done?
It's interesting. It's, you know, it's like I feel like I'm playing high school again, because in high school I pretty much play like a stand-up D-tackle a lot of the time, and I don't like it any more, any less than the last position. It's just a different scheme. It's just a different job. And it's cool.
And then Sharon, being on the defense with Vince Sanford and seeing what he's done this year, is he just a freak that he's able to be 210 and still able to do this on the end? Or do you think this might be, you know, teams are looking for smaller guys to pass rush because of that quickness they bring?
Vince is a freak. He's a freak. You know, he played bandit for a long time, so he you know, he had 3 years under his belt rushing the passer, and he went from bandit to spur to inside linebacker. You know, so he's been all around the defense and seen a lot of it. So I think he's accumulated a lot of skills from different position groups and is able to kind of bring them together and mesh them so that he's now who he is, and he's always super committed in what he's doing. So it's working out for him. It's great.
So what is he technically lining up as now? Isn't he the bandit now, or is he?
He is the bandit now, yes. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes we just run a bunch of different packages. Like the position name is kind of ambiguous right now. But, you know, we bring in Vince right now because he played Spurs, so we're fine with him covering, you know. But then there's like weeks where we would bring Camby in and he'd be like the bandit or something like that. Or it's all over the place. There's a lot going on. I don't even know everything. I just do my job and call it good.
And in the secondary, it could be 3 sophomores starting this week against Boise, especially, you know, if Mac plays and Camby and then Taylor. Is that a concern, or do you feel like the athleticism they bring could make up for anything they haven't seen on the field?
No, it's not a concern at all because the back end we have enough. We've already set the precedent that whatever you're playing, you're going to play at a high level if you communicate well. And, you know, those are a couple of the growing pains from going from being a 2 to being a 1. You can, you know, you go down the second string, and, like, I went down with the second string, and I was just, like, yelling at people because it's like, I don't know what y'all are saying or if anything's being said. But as a 1, it's constant communication. Whoever's in that spot or whoever's filling that role, as long as we communicate, I have full confidence in whatever they can do, whatever they will do for us.
On Saturday, defensively, you guys were very disruptive, you know, pressuring the quarterback with those 3 sacks. But when you go up against Boise, how important will that be to, you know, pressure as well? But what challenges did they present that could make it more difficult for you guys?
You know, Boise's, like I said, they're really well-rounded. Hank Bachmeier is different, though. He's like Wyoming's quarterback was a stout guy. He was a lot bigger and did not want to go down. Hank, he will sit in the pocket and we'll get that tough ball off while getting clocked in the chin. And I was watching the OSU game, and what they were doing was, they was able to pressure the quarterback, but not only clock him, but also get him contorted a little bit. And that forces a bad ball and forces better positions. Defensively, I think we just need to play our game and just trust the coaches and know, we just got to do our jobs the best we can and win our one-on-ones.
And last time you were in here, you said you are really meticulous about watching film. You watch a lot of film. So on a week like this, when you're going up against Boise, do you even get more, logged into the film?
Yeah, we made a joke yesterday that this week is not a school week. It's you got to sit down and actually watch a lot of film. And yeah, this week is one of them. But I've also learned there's a healthy balance because, if you're sitting there staring at a book for 11 hours is not great for you. You get diminishing returns. So you have to know like when you're getting burnt out and you're watching film and then it's like, okay, I'm calling it good for the day. That's it. And then come back and attack it the next day.
Let me see if this makes sense the way I ask it. Do you ever watch film and you're looking at an opponent and kind of have an aha moment where you realize like, okay, he's going to do this then, and then you go into the game and actually see, like remember from film it playing out?
Maybe a little bit. I think it's more like alignment. Teams package things in certain ways where they start building on it. YO, we saw like a couple of things they were doing formationally and like the width of the back and the width of the guards and how they wanted to run things and then the things they had off of them. Aha moments don't really come during the week. They come like on Saturday, really, when things start clicking and then they end up running exactly what you thought they would. And then you can kind of hear the way they communicate it and stuff just starts working out.
And you also mentioned you don't really watch other football, right? You don't watch the NFL. So did you, like growing up, model your game after any other like professional player, or is that recently where you don't watch football as much?
No, even in high school, I didn't watch football. It was like I had good coaches, and they were like, they always tell you like technique stuff. Everyone loves watching Ray Lewis, GOAT linebacker. So I think as a kid, I wanted to focus my work ethic like Ray Lewis, but football-wise, it's just like I was always smaller in high school until like senior year when I started getting bigger. So I was like, however I can play and however I can make it get it done, I'm going to get it done.
Do your teammates think it's weird when you say, that you don't watch football?
They give me so much flack. It's ridiculous. Like they're just talking about football all the time, and I just like go off and do something else. But everyone thinks it's weird, and I get it. Yeah, it's fine. But America loves football. I understand it's people, grown men, running into each other very fast, but it's just like not my thing. I don't know.
Not your thing to watch it, just like play
not my
it.
thing to watch it.
I know this is already a big week with playing Boise State, but has it crossed your mind that you guys can possibly check off one of the goals, which was making a bowl game this week?
Yeah, I think everyone's like knows that's going to be a thing. It's let me say it this way. Last week, we got into that thing where it was like, okay, we have YO, then Boise, then San Diego State, and a lot of the team leadership was like, nah, we only have YO. That's it. It's just YO. And then this week it's only Boise. Everything else is going to handle itself.
So that's what we're going to approach it as. Everything else will just handle itself? Okay, I got you. For you against Boise, is it starting fast and then ending fast, or how do you slow down a potent offense like that?
Consistency. It's, we know we played in big games like this before. We played at Boise with a good team, and we started fast, and we didn't finish as well as we wanted to, but we know, especially with like the amount of experience coming back, we know what it takes to play in these big games, and we know it's a grind, and there's going to be plays that are going to be popped for 70. Doesn't mean they're going to score, but they're plays we're going to pop for 70. You just have to be committed and be ready to fight that fight.
Schematically, from the last time you saw Boise State to now, with that coaching staff, how much is different?
So just off of one game I watched, the width of the back is a little bit different. They run before they used to run like 5 plays. Literally, it's just 5 plays. But they would package it in so many different ways and get to it in different ways. And it's the same thing. And so you kind of overcomplicate them, but they're really simple. This year is, from what I've seen, is about the same thing. You know, Hank going in there making plays, Shakir, being a freak. It's gonna be the same thing. And then they still run a tight end set, but it's different though. Their alignment's way different than what we're used to seeing, and they didn't motion as much from the game I saw.
As a defense, halfway through the season, where would you classify where you guys are at right now? Do you feel confident or are happy where you guys are at?
I don't think anyone's really happy because we played really good football at times, and then like some teams will just get momentum, start swinging, and then we're like, oh well, this isn't going great. I don't think anyone's ever really content on the defense right now because we know we can pitch out a shutout. We haven't yet. We've played really good defense. Everyone's so mad about the Utah State game, and that's like a lot of our driving factor because they took one off of us and we didn't finish. That's the thing we're focusing on, is just finishing.
Final question for me is Diesel hats. Do you have the Diesel mentality? Because I asked Coach today, he is upset that he's not got the $1.99 Coach hat yet. So, and that was his words, not mine. Did you feel like, one, Coach deserves it, and two, what is the Diesel mentality in your mind?
So the Diesel hat is a coveted possession. The defense will never get it. We've already tried. So we come up with our own things. Diesel mentality, I think, it's so crazy how, like, you look at our offensive line and they're smaller in stature than every other school except for Army and Navy, But the mentality is you have to be a dog. You have to be ready to come at someone's kneecaps, punch somebody in the mouth. And even though they're 60 pounds, maybe like 40 pounds less than the defense, or any other offensive line, they're going to fire off and punch you in the mouth. And that's just our team. Like, that's how we play. And that's how we're competitive most days, is just being gritty. Coach Calhoun does do a good job of making us gritty. He probably deserves a hat, honestly. Probably. It would be nice to see Coach Calhoun sporting a Diesel hat and a suit. It'd be nice.
I want to see him walking around down Falcon Stadium with that one.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be a sight to see. My question for you then is this. What do you guys do as a defense is there things that you do like the Diesel hats for your defense to honor guys?
We all have our separate things. The D-line has gorilla hats. They call themselves like the Silverbacks. The linebackers we've been the Union for a long time. Like, since Coach Vandy was here, it was one thing where we all walked out super late because we were getting taped, and then he just called us a Union after that. So we've been the Union ever since. So we have bucket hats. But the one thing we actually Rudd has been emphasizing this is we dedicated this season. We break it down on Spitfire, and that's just being tough against adversity and ready to fight whenever we can. That's what we embody. That's us.